after confirming that the Brahma team of mutants had departed, did Zhang Yi swiftly activate the dimensional gate to rush to the battlefield. Along the way, he didn't forget to bring Ling, the local expert, as she knew the area better than anyone. Zhang Yi approached a severely damaged mechanical life form. From the location resembling a brain, or perhaps a mechanical hub, Zhang Yi extracted an energy core the size of a marble. It was hard to fathom that such a minuscule core could harbor enough power to sustain prolonged operation. Truly, they picked up the seeds but missed the watermelon. A faint smile touched Zhang Yi's lips as he activated the dimensional gate. The immense portal unfurled across the sky, enveloping the surrounding space. The wreckage of the mechanical life forms slowly rose, vanishing into Zhang Yi's dimensional space. Within a minute, it was all over. Zhang Yi then entered Muyan's shadow. When deprived of its host, Muyan's shadow functioned like a four-dimensional pocket, two-dimensional yet connected to the outside world, though extremely difficult to detect. This shadow swiftly pursued the direction the Brahma convoy had departed. Less than an hour later, the Fremon's engineering transport aircraft roared to a landing in the area. Fully armed engineers prepared to use the transport's heavy lift equipment to haul these mechanical life forms back in hundreds of trips. But the moment they touched down, they looked around and froze in shock. Weren't we told there'd be countless mechanical life form carcasses here? Did we come to the wrong place? One engineer specifically checked the location marked on the communication device. It's correct. The marked location is Grota City. They searched the vicinity for a long time, unwilling to accept defeat. In truth, this was merely self-deception. If there truly were tens of thousands of mechanical life forms here, as reported, they would have been visible at a glance. Ultimately, they confirmed that no large number of mechanical life forms existed here. The engineering team captain had no choice but to report the situation to higher-ups. The report trickled up the chain of command until it reached Prodaj's ears. He had been elated moments before, thrilled that his plan had yielded results so quickly, getting foreign mutant teams to work for them. But upon hearing the news, his brow instantly furrowed in displeasure. We just confirmed via satellite that a large-scale war occurred here. It's impossible for there to be nothing left. The engineering team captain replied helplessly, but there truly is nothing here. Prodaj's expression shifted slightly. A flicker of panic pierced the joy that had filled his heart. After triple-checking the location, he ordered spy satellites to photograph the area again. But when he saw the transmitted images, he was utterly dumbfounded. Just as the engineering unit had reported, only ruins remained here. Where were the traces of mechanical life forms? Emperor Indra. What a cunning bastard. Prodaj slammed his fist in fury, his gaze icy and his tone cold. Playing mind games with me, huh? This is simply too much. If they never intended to let them clean up the battlefield, they shouldn't have agreed so readily. Now that their forces had arrived, they found nothing left of the battlefield. What else could this be but an insult? Prodaj suspected this was deliberate sabotage by the Brahma forces and seethed with indignation. Yet he couldn't confront Emperor Indra directly. After all, they still needed Brahma's military support moving forward. Prodaj swallowed hard, as if forcing himself to swallow this humiliation for now. But deep inside, he had already made a mental note of this incident. Meanwhile, the unsuspecting Brahma special train raced across the snowy plains, heading straight for Samaran City. Unbeknownst to anyone, a shadow was closing in upon them at an even faster pace, gliding swiftly across the earth. Under the cover of Muyan's abilities, which smoothed out all spatial fluctuations around them, their approach was utterly silent. No one could detect their presence. Like a black carpet clinging to the ground, it gradually caught up to the train racing across the snowy plains, then adhered to its surface like a sticker. The train's interior held no shortage of shadows during daylight, allowing the figure to blend in completely, vanishing without a trace. Meanwhile, within his own carriage, Emperor Indra was enjoying the attentions of his attendants and a sumptuous meal. Regardless, this mission had been a victory. Upon reaching Samaran City, he could boast about it to Fremons and the other nations. Especially when encountering the Huashu Kingdom's team of mutants, he absolutely couldn't appear inferior before them. He would grit his teeth and insist that defeating the Mechanical Legion had been effortless. After all, Zhang Yi and the others knew nothing about the many casualties. As for that massive energy core, it was stored in an adjacent carriage, guarded by 3 trusted confidants under Emperor Indra's command. The thing was too large to carry conveniently. For someone of Emperor Indra's stature, having a massive orb constantly by his side wherever he went would look rather peculiar. But Emperor Indra had no worries whatsoever about its safety. He hadn't even considered the possibility that anyone on Fremon's territory would attempt to seize it, nor that anyone possessed the strength to wrest it from his grasp. In the second carriage of the train, 3 Brahma mutants sat cross-legged on the floor, a massive metal crate placed between them. These 3 were the elite of the celestial beings: Passionate Sky, Parting Sky, and Fearless Sky. The 3 encircled the metal crate containing the energy core of the colossal mechanical life form, their eyes fixed upon it without blinking. They knew this object held immense importance. Entrusted by Emperor Indra to guard it carefully, they dared not slacken their vigilance for a moment. In the shadows, Mu Yan had already appeared, observing them alongside Zhang Yi. Emperor Indra isn't personally guarding it, this is excellent news. A pleased smile spread across Zhang Yi's face. This situation couldn't be more favorable. He knew that without space abilities, no one could carry it everywhere. After all, traveling from here to Samaran City by train took 5 or 6 hours. They would inevitably need to use the restroom, eat, or catch some sleep. A proud and arrogant fellow like Emperor Indra would never take on the task of guarding an item. Zhang Yi had even considered whether Emperor Indra might assign Azura to guard it, since the Brahma people likely wouldn't trust Gao Changkong that much. But apparently, he trusted no one. Now the problem arose. The 3 before him possessed only captain-level strength, their abilities unknown. Zhang Yi could instantly eliminate them and take the energy core. But the moment he moved, it would inevitably alert the trio in the front carriage. Escalating the situation offered him no advantage whatsoever. Therefore, he had to eliminate these 3 silently and without a trace, in the blink of an eye. Then take the energy core and leave. Yet, whether to kill these 3 was also a problem. If they met an untimely end, Emperor Indra and the others would notice something amiss and likely suspect Zhang Yi, the closest member of the team to this location. Taking the item was easy, the real challenge lay in completely erasing all suspicion from himself. After discussing with Yang Xinxin, Zhang Yi finally devised a sound plan. He patiently concealed himself in the shadows, moving alongside the train. A mountain range lay ahead, requiring the train to pass through a narrow tunnel. The 3 guards focused solely on the box, oblivious to external events. As the train rumbled into the tunnel, the sudden shift in light caused discomfort in their eyes. The entire carriage plunged into darkness. The train's intelligent light-sensing system automatically activated the lights upon detecting the dimness, but there was always that split second of pitch black in between. In that very instant, Mu Yan suddenly darted directly beneath the 3 guards and the metal box. She opened the door to her shadow space and dragged them all inside. The 3 mutants were utterly shocked, but before they could even utter a sound, they firmly restrained. The trio stared at Zhang Yi and his group in stunned silence, utterly bewildered by what had just happened. Zhang Yi wasted no time on explanations. He had already instructed his people on what to do beforehand. Thus, Lu Karen easily opened the metal box. Brahma's precision engineering seemed childishly simple before her, opening with a mere touch. The massive energy core was extracted, replaced with a clump of discarded mechanical life-form material, and the box was securely locked once more. The 3 Brahma mutants watched the scene, their eyes bulging with rage. They knew all too well the immense hardship they had endured to obtain this object. Now, to have someone else pluck the fruit from their grasp, they were overcome with grief and fury. The trio glared at Zhang Yi and his companions, their eyes burning with a relentless, unyielding ferocity. But Zhang Yi couldn't be bothered to spare them a glance. He had no intention of showing any leniency toward these Brahma outsiders who had invaded the southwest region to loot and plunder. Next came the matter of dealing with these 3. Yang Xinxin immediately activated the Angel of Desire's power. Yang Xinxin's ability belonged to the rules category, capable of altering perception and controlling the mind. This psychological suggestion resembled powerful hypnosis, possessing irresistible and irreversible properties. Now, I command you to forget everything that just happened. You have always been guarding this box. It and you have never left that train compartment. Yang Xinxin's voice imprinted itself into their minds like a spell, becoming an ironclad law they could not defy. Yang Xinxin had no interest in boosting combat power, yet as a pragmatist, she accepted Zhang Yi's cultivation training to make her abilities more convenient. After consuming vast quantities of Earth centipede origin, her ability index now reached 9,900 points. This fact had long frustrated many within the shelter. Others had to absorb vast amounts of origin and endure grueling training to unlock their potential. Yet for Yang Xinxin, boosting her ability index felt as effortless as drinking water. Her abilities grew increasingly formidable, reaching a point where she could implant memories. This was her newly developed power, Trojan horse implantation. Much like a virus invading a computer, her thoughts allowed her to control the minds of those struck by her arrows, manipulating their memories. This was merely the initial stage. Once this ability grew stronger, she could even implant entirely new memories into a person's mind from scratch. However, executing such feats demanded exceptionally high standards from the ability user herself. First, Yang Xinxin had to craft a flawless memory to replace the original memories of the person struck by her arrow. Without meticulous thinking and exceptional intelligence, mastering this ability was impossible. This was Yang Xinxin's favorite ability. She despised mediocrity and craved excitement. After being struck, the three victims' eyes instantly glazed over. The next moment, they were transported back into the carriage, the metal box appearing among them. The entire process took less than 10 seconds. Zhang Yi had already secured what he wanted. A shadow swiftly detached from the train, vanishing into the distance in another direction. By the time they realized something was amiss with the box's contents, he was already far beyond their reach. By then, they would never suspect Zhang Yi. Even if they did, they'd have no concrete evidence. In one of the train's carriages, Gao Changkong sat on a plush sofa, his hands folded before him, eyes closed in thought. Suddenly, his gaze shifted toward the window, a hint of confusion in his eyes. Behind him, a pair of delicate hands massaged his shoulders. Noticing his expression, Gu Man asked with a smile, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" Gao Changkong furrowed his brow, then shook his head with a smile. "Nothing. Just reminiscing about the past." He could only use his reincarnation theory ability once per day. And it was only affected when encountering a higher-tier temporal ability user. His first failure occurred when he met Zhang Yi. His second failure happened when he encountered Emperor Indra and Brahma. Zhang Yi and his crew quickly returned to their convoy. Thinking about the colossal mechanical life form's energy core left behind in the dimensional space, Zhang Yi nearly laughed out loud. He never imagined this thing would be so easy to obtain. Indeed, who could have predicted that on Fremon's territory, a veteran like Zhang Yi would strike, silently snatching something right from under their noses? Now, Pradaja believed Brahma had tricked them. Meanwhile, Emperor Indra remained unaware that the precious energy core he'd worked so hard to obtain had fallen into Zhang Yi's hands. Two teams now advanced toward Samarin City, Fremon's current temporary capital, from opposite directions. Zhang Yi's group deliberately took a detour to evade Brahman's forces, meaning their arrival would be slightly delayed. But Zhang Yi felt no urgency whatsoever. He instructed Lu Karen and Yang Xinxin to thoroughly study this unique energy core within Muyan's shadow space. Once its technology was fully deciphered, it would elevate Zhang Yi's team's technological prowess to unimaginable heights. Then there were those mechanical life forms, equally astonishing masterpieces. Mass-produced machines from a mechanical civilization were, to human civilization, works of art. Mass production signified an extremely mature industrial technology. Their workmanship and materials were only marginally inferior to the E-metal forged by Lu Karen. What intrigued Zhang Yi most, however, were the defensive force fields they possessed. That thing was nothing short of a god-tier skill against mutants. Zhang Yi had a premonition. If they couldn't fully understand this function, then when conflict with the mechanical civilization eventually erupted, the human faction would suffer catastrophic casualties. Half a day later, the Brahma forces arrived at Samran City. This major metropolis, 1,200 kilometers from Kirin City, was now heavily fortified. The vast majority of Fremon's elite forces were concentrated here. There was no other option. Fremon's population was only about 1/10 that of Huashu Kingdom. After the apocalypse, having endured countless calamities, the surviving population numbered less than 10 million. Yet they happened to occupy the world's largest landmass, forcing them to concentrate their population in a handful of major cities. Precisely because of this, when signs of the mechanical civilization's invasion emerged, they were unable to deploy large forces to counter it. After all, most of the Pantheon's powerful individuals had to remain behind to safeguard Fremon's operational hub. The mutants are the protagonists of this era. Yet the vast machinery of governance relies more heavily on those with weaker abilities, or none at all. Take the commanders of Huashu Kingdom's major regions, most possess no special powers. Even in Tianhai City, the true architect of operations isn't Zhang Yi, but Yang Xinxin, whose formidable administrative skills hold sway. The powerful figures above the surface are merely the visible layer. In densely populated areas, the unseen controllers hold particular importance. When the mutants from Brahma arrived, they were greeted by several high-ranking officials of Fremons, led by the god of fishing and hunting, Prodaja. Within Fremons, he held a status comparable to figures like Deng Shintong or Li Changgong. He came from a distinguished lineage and possessed exceptional supernatural talents. Thus, even at merely the white chariot level, he wielded considerable authority within Fremons. Emperor Indra descended from the special train, his entourage of dozens following in a grand procession. The three mutants guarding the metal box breathed a sigh of relief upon successfully reaching Samran City. Yet when Fearless Sky hoisted the metal crate onto his back, he sensed something peculiar. Its weight seemed slightly off. But recalling he'd never taken his eyes off the crate throughout the journey, he dismissed it as a misperception and paid it little mind. Prodaja approached with a group of officials, his smile not overly warm as he offered Emperor Indra a polite handshake. "Welcome, Your Excellency, for leading your forces to aid Fremons. Lord Indra, your reputation precedes you. I've long heard of your exceptional wisdom." Prodaja wore a smile, but inwardly thought, "Cunning fellow." Emperor Indra sensed the peculiarity in the other's demeanor. He had come to offer aid, leaving behind such a vast haul of spoils. Shouldn't they be grateful? This attitude was deeply unsettling. Emperor Indra snorted inwardly, these Fremons folk remain as arrogant as ever. But as dignitaries, they couldn't afford to tear apart relations now. So Emperor Indra continued, as members of humanity's great family, we of Brahma are a world power. Naturally, we must shoulder the responsibilities of strength. Rest assured, with us here, you can feel secure. A hint of sarcasm laced his words. You Fremons can't handle your own mess, so we're here to clean it up for you. Why are you trying to act like you're some big shot? Times have changed. When you need help, you have to lower your own stance. The two shook hands, both wearing meaningful smiles, though both felt deeply annoyed inside. Prodaja's gaze swept past Emperor Indra, landing on the crowd behind him and the massive snow train. Suddenly, he noticed the heavy metal crate behind Fearless Sky. Prodaja remarked, I hadn't expected you to locate those mechanical life forms so swiftly upon arriving in Fremons. It seems you've made quite the haul. A proud smile lifted the corners of Emperor Indra's mouth. Those mechanical life forms? They're mere toys to us. Easily dealt with. Heh. Don't assume only the Huashu Kingdom's mutants possess true power. Compared to my Brahma mutants, they're nothing special. Ever since avoiding battle with Zhang Yi that time, Emperor Indra had been seething with pent-up anger, desperate to reclaim his pride. Prodaja gave him a deep look. With so many mechanical life forms, You must have had space ability mutants store them away, right? Emperor Indra thought of the thousands of mechanical life forms in Batu's martial arts field, and merely smiled faintly. Of course. Prodaja thought, just as I suspected. You bastard, you've outmaneuvered me. A surge of anger welled up inside him, his gaze toward Emperor Indra growing increasingly cold. Not only did you clean up everything yourself, you deliberately toyed with me. Fine, fine. Since we need your help now, I'll let this slide for the moment. But mark my words, Prodaja remembers. The day will come when you'll be begging the Fremons for assistance. As these thoughts swirled in his mind, he observed Fearless Sky and his two companions guarding the metal box with extreme vigilance. A moment's consideration was enough to guess its contents. Their Fremons Research Institute was already racing to decipher the mechanical lifeform's structure, fully aware that its energy core was the most crucial component. Meanwhile, the people of Brahma had only just acquired it and remained unaware of its true value. As these thoughts raced through his mind, Prodaja's smile grew genuinely warmer. My friends, you've traveled far and wide. Today we must drink heartily. Come, we've prepared a lavish feast. We won't rest until we're thoroughly merry. With that, Prodaja warmly ushered the Brahma group toward the banquet. Seeing his improved attitude, Emperor Indra nodded, considering it only proper, and led his team to follow. To show his esteem for Emperor Indra and his companions, Prodaja had also invited a few powerful figures from the pantheon. Emperor Indra scanned them all, recognizing none. He couldn't help asking, I've heard that Fremon's most powerful mutant is that Frost Queen, Morana, the winter goddess. Why hasn't she come? Emperor Indra felt somewhat displeased. In his view, as the strongest being from a world-class superpower, his presence demanded that Fremon's most powerful entity personally receive him. Prodaja smiled as he filled Emperor Indra's glass with vodka, explaining, my apologies, Morana generally prefers not to socialize. Even I rarely see her unless it's an urgent matter. Emperor Indra nodded in understanding. The mighty have the right to act according to their own preferences. For he himself was such a being. As the glasses clinked, Emperor Indra also drank some vodka, his face flushing slightly. This potent liquor, typically consumed in the far north to ward off the cold, boasted an extremely high alcohol content that most found unpalatable. Emperor Indra had no intention of drinking much, but he couldn't resist the fervent hospitality of Prodaja and the other Fremons. Yet he remained sober. Mutants could not afford to drink heavily, for intoxication rendered them profoundly vulnerable. In this respect, Epsilon differed little from ordinary humans. During the feast, both sides discussed matters concerning Fremon's current state. After 3 rounds of wine, conversation flowed freely. Prodaja was a gifted conversationalist, skillfully flattering Emperor Indra to his core. Having been hailed as a prodigious prophet since childhood, Indra greatly enjoyed such compliments, especially when they came from a high-ranking Fremon's official. Thus, he concluded that Prodaja was a sensible man who recognized his own formidable power. As for Gao Changkong and Azura, they were also present at the banquet, though both remained relatively quiet. Azura was naturally quiet, while Gao Changkong, due to his status, consistently minimized his presence. As the drinking drew to a close, Prodaja sat beside Emperor Indra, his collar undone, face flushed crimson, clearly intoxicated. Leaning close, he murmured, those iron-plated monstrosities are incredibly tough. We suffered heavy losses against them before. I never imagined His Excellency Emperor Indra would be so formidable, annihilating an entire mechanical legion upon arrival. Such prowess commands respect. Emperor Indra offered a faint smile, striving to maintain his composure and elegance, though his gaze had grown slightly unfocused. Not at all. It was just a matter of clearing some nuisances out of the way. Gao Changkong and Azura didn't call him out on it. Only they knew how brutal that battle had truly been. Prodaja sighed. It's a pity that what you've encountered so far are merely scattered mechanical units. You haven't faced a true Legion-level mechanical force yet. When you do, they'll be far more difficult to handle. At these words, Gao Changkong immediately turned to look, Azura's gaze equally grave. Something even harder to deal with? A single mechanical legion had already cost them nearly half their forces. Prabhaja spoke slowly. You've seen those mechanical life forms that show no fear of death, right? And those supersized ones as tall as skyscrapers? They're the most troublesome. In the large mechanical legions we encountered earlier, there were over a dozen of those. As for the standard models, they swarm out of the ground like ants, too many to count. If not for this, why would we have abandoned Karen City? Though others hadn't witnessed Karen City's fall, Prabhaja's words allowed them to imagine the horror. The mere mention of over a dozen colossal mechanical entities sent chills down their spines. Gao Changkong and Azura weighed their own strength. Taking down even one would be a struggle. 2? That was another matter entirely. A dozen? Even Emperor Indra himself would likely have no choice but to flee. The mood grew heavy. Emperor Indra, too, realized the situation was more complicated than anticipated. He lowered his gaze before speaking. It's this troublesome? Prabhaja nodded. But he quickly added, however, we're already working on countering their technology. Frankly, the most troublesome aspect is their defensive force fields that resist supernatural abilities. That single feature alone reduces our mutant unit's combat effectiveness by 30%. Emperor Indra inquired, has your research made progress? Fremons had the earliest contact with them, you should have achieved breakthroughs by now. Prabhaja looked at Emperor Indra and replied slowly, the research materials are insufficient. Emperor Indra wore a puzzled expression. Prabhaja fixed his gaze on Emperor Indra, his expression earnest. That technology is concealed within the energy cores of the mechanical life forms. It's a specialized energy force field, their technological advancement surpasses ours by at least a few centuries. Merely deciphering their core manufacturing methods has left us nearly hopeless. But if we can crack this technology and find their weaknesses, we'll seize the initiative on the battlefield. Without their defensive force fields, mechanical life forms are nothing more than tanks or armored vehicles. A powerhouse like Emperor Indra could destroy them with a wave of his hand. Emperor Indra recalled the scene from their previous battle and nodded instinctively. Prabhaja was right, their most pressing problem was that the defensive force fields nullified the abilities of the mutants. He began to grasp the meaning behind Prabhaja's words. Mr. Prabhaja, I fully agree with your assessment. But what exactly do you want us to do? Emperor Indra wasn't a fool. Though he'd been plied with wine and felt somewhat lightheaded, the mention of profit instantly sharpened his wits. His gaze grew intense as he studied Prabhaja. Seeing this, Prabhaja dropped the pretense. He met Emperor Indra's eyes with genuine earnestness. We need your help. This isn't just for Fremons. You've seen those mechanical life forms. Their sheer numbers and combat power are terrifying. I can be completely open with you now. He glanced around before lowering his voice. So far, they haven't launched a full-scale attack on humanity. If war truly breaks out, I fear it will be a catastrophe for the entire world. I cannot speak for other nations, but even Brahmanir Fremons may not escape this disaster. Emperor Indra stared at Prabhaja in disbelief, yet doubt lingered in his eyes. What do you mean by that? They've already devastated Fremons so severely, if that isn't the start of war, what is? Prabhaja knew that to obtain that energy core from Emperor Indra, he had to show genuine sincerity. He sighed. What if I told you their original objective wasn't to attack humanity? That our human territories just happened to lie along their path, and they treated us like trash to be cleared away? Would you believe that? Emperor Indra's eyes widened. These words were too shocking for him to accept. We've run simulations. Given the current scale of the mechanical legion active in Fremons, if full-scale war breaks out, the entire region would fall within 3 days at most. Apart from our main forces here that can offer some resistance, there are no forces capable of fighting back in other areas. Prabhaja stated solemnly. That's precisely why we urgently sought aid from all nations. Emperor Indra, now you understand the critical importance of finding their weakness, don't you? Prodaja was not lying. Emperor Indra had fought against the Mechanical Legion before. He knew Prodaja spoke the truth. Without deploying the Reaper of Love, such a Mechanical Legion could sweep across the vast majority of nations in this world. And the number of mechanical life forms appearing in Fremons was still unknown. Regaining his composure, Emperor Indra offered Prodaja a smile. Ultimately, your goal is still to obtain the mechanical life form energy core in my possession, correct? However, demanding something we've worked so hard to acquire is rather inappropriate. Even if Prodaja spoke with the utmost candor, Emperor Indra had no intention of handing over such a valuable asset. Prodaja chuckled. He remarked, but even if Brahma obtained this item, they likely couldn't decipher it in the short term, correct? Emperor Indra's eyes narrowed. Oh? Prodaja continued, in military technology, Brahma lags far behind Fremons. I believe you understand this well. Even if you take it back now, trust me, without a year or two, your scientists won't crack its core technology. However, if you give it to us, once we crack the core technology, we will share it with you. Emperor Indra conceded that Prodaja's earlier point held merit. In military technology, Fremons undoubtedly ranked among the world's foremost powers. Yet he didn't believe a word of the latter part. Words from Fremon's mouth, especially after vodka, must be taken with a grain of salt, never fully trusted. Seeing Emperor Indra show no sign of nodding in agreement, Prodaja grew impatient. The situation is urgent. The mechanical civilization could threaten to destroy the entire continent at any moment. I sincerely hope Mr. Indra will give my proposal serious consideration. Fremons never lets its friends lose out. If you doubt my sincerity, we can open our armory right now, take whatever military equipment you need to prove our commitment. Moreover, he shifted gears to another matter. Don't forget that the Chaos faction of Huashu Kingdom has already acquired mechanical life forms. If they master this technology first. He knew precisely what the people of Brahma valued most. For a century, they had treated the Huashu Kingdom as their imagined adversary, dreaming of surpassing it to become an Asian dominant power. Not to mention the recent conflict between the two nations, Chaos had led an incursion into Brahma's territory, slaughtering its people and plundering its treasures. Sure enough, Emperor Indra's gaze sharpened. After a long pause, he smiled and said, I will give this matter careful consideration. Prodaja stared at him, then nodded after several seconds. Then I await your favorable response. He was highly confident that Emperor Indra would accept his proposal. He believed Fremons had long pursued research into mechanical life forms, possessing the world's most advanced technology in this field. Left in Emperor Indra's hands, that thing was currently nothing more than scrap metal. After the banquet concluded, attendants naturally escorted them to their prepared quarters. Emperor Indra pondered Prodaja's proposal throughout the journey. Stepping into the opulent villa, he sat in the spacious, brightly lit living room and fell deep in thought. The subordinates of the celestial beings gathered near him, awaiting his orders. Emperor Indra looked up and saw Fearless Sky carrying the massive metal box. A sigh of resignation escaped his heart. From the outset, he had assigned the team's mechanic to examine that energy core. Yet, despite the experts of Brahma scrutinizing it with every tool imaginable for hours on end, they couldn't make any sense of it. To put it plainly, its material composition alone surpassed everything currently known in the world. Even diamond couldn't leave a scratch on its surface. Opening it for study was out of the question. Brahma wasn't lacking in talent, but the vast majority of its top-tier experts had migrated to developed nations like Fremons or Britannia, where they flourished. Those who remained in Brahma were often high-ranking individuals, possessing degrees but not necessarily the skills to match. Prodaja was right, Brahma's military-industrial capabilities were insufficient. Cracking the energy core's technology would prove exceedingly difficult. But should they simply accept this compromise? Emperor Indra felt conflicted. Suddenly, he wanted to examine the energy core himself, perhaps he could discern something unique. Alas, the seer's power lay in foretelling the future, not in penetrating an object's structure. Fearless Sky, open the box. Indra commanded the towering, dark-skinned giant. "Yes, Lord." Fearless Sky gave a simple nod before removing the metal box from his back and setting it gently on the floor. Beside him, Passionate Sky approached, inputting a complex sequence of commands to unlock the box. Emperor Indra stared intently at the box, his mind racing with countless thoughts. But the moment the box fully opened before him, every face in the room paled abruptly. Where was the energy core? Inside lay only a discarded piece of a mechanical life form. The air hung with deathly silence. Emperor Indra froze for several seconds, seemingly unable to believe his eyes.